In the spring of 1987, a small team of biologists drove up into the mountains of Southern California to do something that felt a lot like surrender. They were going to capture the last wild California condor on Earth, the largest land bird in North America. A creature with a wingspan of 9.5 feet, almost the width of a small car, and once it was in their hands, there would be none left flying free anywhere on the planet. Just 5 years earlier, the entire species had crashed to 22 birds. 22. For an animal that once rode the wind from California all the way to Florida. The skies that condors had ruled since the age of mammoths were about to go completely empty, and the last of them had a name: AC-9. The question hanging over that hillside was brutal in its simplicity. Were these people saving the condor or quietly burying it? To understand how the biggest bird in the sky came down to one, you have to go back. The California condor is not an ordinary bird. From wingtip to wingtip, it stretches 9.5 feet. It can weigh up to 25 pounds, climb to 15,000 feet, and travel 150 miles in a single day without flapping, just riding the thermals over open canyon country. Picture that enormous wingspan held flat against a desert sky, barely moving. It looks like something out of the Ice Age, and in a way it is. Condors once fed on the bodies of mammoths and giant ground sloths. When those giants died out, the condor somehow held on, scavenging whatever the land gave it, from California to Florida, and from Western Canada down into Mexico. But a scavenger's entire life depends on one thing: finding the dead. And that is exactly where the trap was waiting. The cruel twist of this story is that the condor's greatest strength is what nearly killed it. Look at that bare orange head and the heavy hooked beak, built to tear into a carcass out on the open range. For most of history, cleaning up the dead made the condor essential. Then people started leaving a different kind of carcass. A deer shot and never recovered. A coyote killed and left in a field. Gut piles dumped after hunting season. And buried in that meat, fragments of lead bullets and lead shot, shattered into pieces smaller than a grain of rice. A condor swallows the lead without ever knowing it is there. The metal seeps into the blood and settles in the bones. It paralyzes the digestive system, so the bird slowly starves with a full stomach. And because condors feed together, in groups, a single poisoned carcass can take down several of them at once. Lead was the main killer. But it had plenty of help: shooting and poaching, habitat chopped up by roads and development, the pesticide DDT thinning their eggshells until they collapsed under the parent's own weight. Now set all of that against a bird that lays exactly one egg a year, the slowest breeder of any bird on Earth, and the outcome starts to feel inevitable. Through the 1970s, the biologists tracking the wild flock watched the line on the graph go one way, down, and nothing they tried could bend it back up. By 1982, only 22 California condors were left in the entire world. Not in California, in the world. The same sky that once held flocks of them now sat empty at dusk. Then 1985 turned a slow decline into a free fall. In a single season, close to 40% of the remaining wild birds vanished. Suddenly there were fewer than 10 condors left flying, and the recovery team was forced into a decision that tore the conservation world in two. One side, led by the National Audubon Society, said, "You never give up on the wild. A condor raised in a pen and fed by people is not truly a condor. Pull them all in, and you might keep the animal alive while losing the wild creature forever." The other side just looked at the numbers. Leave them out there, and lead would finish the species inside a few years. There would be nothing left to debate. So what would you do? Reach into the wild and grab the last free birds, or let nature run its course? They chose to reach in. One by one, through 1986 and into 1987, the field teams trapped the survivors. until it came down to a single bird. On April 19, 1987, they captured AC-9, the last wild California condor on Earth. One of the biologists who was there said it felt like the entire sky had emptied out. Protesters were so angry that every last bird had been taken that they chained themselves to the gate of the Los Angeles Zoo. But the capture went through anyway, and AC-9 joined 26 others split between two places, the San Diego Wild Animal Park and the Los Angeles Zoo. And that was the bottom. For the first time in tens of thousands of years, not one California condor flew anywhere on the planet. The whole species, every living individual, now fit inside two facilities. 27 birds standing between this animal and total extinction. Sit in that for a moment. A creature that outlasted the mammoths, reduced to 27 prisoners and one desperate gamble. The gamble was captive breeding, and it balanced on something frighteningly thin. Every California condor alive today traces back to just 14 founding birds. 14. That was the entire genetic future of the species. So the teams guarded every egg like a treasure. When a female laid one, biologists would often take it away, which fooled her into laying a second, quietly doubling the number of chicks. Those chicks were raised by a hand puppet shaped like an adult condor's head, so the babies bonded with their own kind instead of with people. A tiny chick stretching its neck toward that puppet feeder. The first captive chick hatched in 1988. Then another and another. The count crept upward. And in 1992, the team did the thing the skeptics swore would never work. They opened a flight pen high in the California mountains and let captive condors go. But freedom brought a brand new problem. Birds raised in pens kept landing on power poles and electrocuting themselves. So the teams built fake power poles that gave a mild, harmless shock, teaching the condors to stay away from them. It worked. The releases kept spreading into Arizona and Utah until condors were soaring over the Grand Canyon again, 9.5 feet of wingspan against red rock. More birds went free along the cliffs of Big Sur and down into Baja California, Mexico. So where does the story stand now? In early 2026, the global condor population passed 600 birds for the first time since the collapse, with more than half of them flying wild across California, Arizona, Utah, and Baja California. Each one carries a numbered wing tag and, on many birds, a GPS transmitter that quietly reports its location, while field crews still track them on the ground with handheld antennas. From 22 birds to more than 600. But there is a part of this that nobody likes to say out loud. The condor is not saved. Lead is still the single biggest thing killing them. The same poison that almost erased the species is still sitting in the carcasses they feed on, every single hunting season. Most wild condors have to be trapped twice a year, so biologists can test their blood and flush the lead out of them. Stop that effort today, and the population would very likely start sliding backward again. We didn't cure the disease. We built a life support machine, and we are still standing there holding the plug. Which leads to a hard question, and I genuinely want your answer. We spent more than 40 years and many millions of dollars to rescue 22 birds, and we still have to babysit them to keep them breathing. Some people argue that money should go to species we can actually save by the thousands, not a single animal kept alive by constant human effort. Others argue that a creature that outlived the Ice Age is worth any cost, and that walking away from it sets a darker precedent for everything else we might give up on. So I am honestly asking you, was saving the California condor worth it? Or was it sentiment we couldn't afford? Go back to that hillside in 1987 and the biologist who watched the sky go empty. There is a detail most people never hear. AC-9, the very last wild condor, the one they carried down out of the mountains, did not die behind glass. In 2002, after 15 years in captivity, the team brought him back to the wild, opened the door, and that same bird lifted off and rode the wind over the California coast one more time. The sky that went silent is not silent anymore. Picture that giant shadow sliding across the cliffs of Big Sur, the rugged coastline dropping into the Pacific below. Whether all of it was worth the price is the real question, and now it belongs to you. Tell me in the comments where you land and be honest about it, because I read them and I actually want to know what you think.